So one of the things that I definitely want to mention was if you have not ever had a passport, or if you are like me and you need to renew your passport, I need to do that, then you should definitely work on doing that now. And this doesn't matter what country you're in. I am specifically talking about the United States because we have such a huge bloated government, and the way that things work they take so long. But for any country, you should definitely go ahead and get on this, just because of everything kind of happening, things take longer. But I can speak to this from experience because we're sort of in that same spot. I know that back when I was heading to London for my first program back in 2007, there was so much gridlock with the actual processing system of passports here in the US. So it wasn't even related to the recession because that hadn't even kicked off yet. There was just a lot of gridlock going on, as there often is in Washington, D.C., and the different tentacles that they have their hands in that they're controlling. And so, there was so much gridlock, and passports at that particular time between like June and I think it was like September, and I think it actually started like maybe in April 2007, and it like bled over into the summer of where it was taking people like 6 to 8 to 10 weeks to get their passport. And for me, like I had applied for my passport at that time back in April. So I knew that I was experiencing that because I needed it in June before I went to go off and do something else. And so I had to have it there. And so I experienced that. I was able to eventually get it by just hassling them and, making a few phone calls and finally getting in there and getting it sent. But what I want to say is that, we're sort of back in that place again where, considering everything that's happening with the pandemic, there's been so many people that have either left their jobs or have gotten laid off or have, decided to resign because they don't want the jab or whatever it is. There's just a lot less people in the workforce right now, at least here in the US. And I'm sure that a lot of other countries have their own various, different sort of variation of this. And so you definitely want to consider the fact, I know that I've seen lots of information about this within, different news sources and things like that, passports are one of the things that are taking a lot more time than they normally would have. And so you want to go ahead and get on that. Now, right now, I'm not planning to travel abroad again until the end of the year. So even though I do need to get mine, I can take a little bit more time. But for people that are going to be wanting to study abroad, particularly in the summer of 2022, don't delay on that. Remember, a passport here in the US is good for 10 years. In some other countries, it's good for 5 years, whatever it is, no matter where you are. I would definitely heed on that to go ahead and make sure that either your passport is up to date, either if you don't have one, you definitely need to go ahead and get one because that typically takes a little bit longer. Or if you're renewing it, it takes slightly less longer, but still a lot longer than it would have. So go ahead and make sure that the passport is where it needs to be. As you know, the passport that you're going to need is kind of like your lifeline to make sure that you can travel internationally. You want to have that in hand. Am I saying that for some reason, if you apply for your passport, in February of 2022, that you're not going to get it back until June 2022? I would not think so, but who actually knows what's going to happen? So go ahead and make sure that you have that lined up. Now, one of the things you don't really need to worry about right now is a visa. That tends to come later. There are some programs that will help you with that, or even if you have to get it on your own, they will usually be able to guide you in the right direction. That typically is not even a thought until you are already in your program, and then the actual consulate of whatever home country you're going to will issue it within your country, but they need to have the acceptance letter and the proof of financial aid or whatever type of money you're going to be using to do it. So all of that comes later. So a lot of people are like, oh, what about my visa? You're going to be able to get to that later once you're in the program and ready to go. But the passport is something that you need to have way before then. So make sure that your passport is up to date and good to go. Before you get back to the video, I just wanted to pop in here to remind you to go ahead and download my free e-guide, Finding Your Perfect Study Abroad program. Now, this e-guide was created with students just like you in mind. It's all about how to find the perfect program for you. I know that that is something that students often struggle with. So we are going to be talking about how to find a program, what are some of the common types of programs, how to even track your budgeting as you're going through and applying, what to consider as you're looking at a visa, and so much more. So to find the e-guide, you can either follow the link that is here on the screen, or I'm also going to link it just below in the description box so that you can go ahead and get started. As I said, it is fully free, it is printable, and it is a lot of fun. There's also a very fun quiz as well to sort of help you figure out if you're on the right track. So definitely get started with that after you finish watching the video and have some fun with it. And please go ahead and get started so that you can find the best study abroad program for you. Back to the video. And on the other point of that, I just wanted to also follow up on another part that I mentioned last week of, thinking about the fact that, the programs that you may be applying to, and again, I'm not, every time that I make a statement, I hate that I have to say this in a free country, but I'm just saying my overall general opinion. It's not directed at one person or another person. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter whether or not you do have the jab or you don't have the jab, or you don't want it or you do want it. If you want to study abroad, you're going to have to figure out realistically what is going to be happening. So for example, as I was saying, when you speak with the program director of the program and you ask them what their requirements are within their program, they may tell you something that, let's say, they don't require the jab. However, if you want to go to Spain, and that means that the whatever program is going to be there, and Spain, I have not looked this up, so I don't know if Spain specifically is requiring it. I'm just using it as an example. Let's say by the time you're ready to go, Spain is saying, we want every single person coming to our country for any reason to be, jabbed 3 times. Let's say they say that. Then that means that whatever the host country says will override what the program wants. And that means that in order to travel there and to get in and to be able to have all your information at border control, that you have to get it done. Now, if that is not something that you're going to want to do, then that goes to my first point of the last video of making sure that you do not put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure that you have 3 or 4, maybe even 5 programs, and they're all in different locations, just so that you can make the best decision for you. So that, let's say that you apply to all 5, you get into all 5, and then it really does come down to, well, I don't have the jab and I don't want to take it. Let me see where I can go out of these 5 programs where it's not going to be a big deal, and vice versa. Maybe it's just, for you, you might be on the other side of it and you're like, well, I only want to go to a program that requires it. Then you can make that choice as well. So again, I'm not trying to influence you either way. I am a huge believer of personal freedom. I think it's very important. And so I would never try to do that, but I just wanted to definitely put that out there and consider it, because I know a lot of students, they're like, well, I'm traveling abroad and studying abroad at my school, and my school is not requiring it. It's like, yes, but your school is ultimately not in control of what the host country does. And in order to actually get into the country, you have to be compliant with whatever their rules are. It's, we don't want to be doing that. We want to do whatever we want to do, but you can't always do whatever you want to do. So I definitely just wanted to go ahead and point that out, and to just make you aware of that, so that you can start maybe doing your research and figuring out, what other countries are doing, what they're saying right now. Of course, knowing that it could change, but what direction are they look like they're heading in, just so that you can make a better informed decision about where you want to study abroad, where you might be interested in studying abroad, and that you're not caught off guard in the end.